17th place. And so I had no idea what A and A&E meant, so I looked up what floodway meant. And so basically the definition means the channel of a river or other watercourse of the adjacent land areas that must be reserved in order to discharge the base flood without increasing the water surface elevation more than a designated height. Communities must regulate development in these floodways to ensure that there are no increase. People have entertained, I don't know, I'm not a landscape architect, so I don't know anything about it, but I do know people have mentioned the development, and I do know the development is right next to all this stuff that we are required to carry flood insurance, so I don't know if, like you said, I don't know if there was a drainage study done before it, took place or not. I know in 2010, my daughter lived in the house that I live in now, and my Camry was parked there and it flooded out on 17th Street, and that was in 2010. And then I know for a fact, 6 cars on 17th Place got lost, 3 of them being ours. And I know almost everybody except for one house on our street is having, we've had the person coming by asking the FEMA, how much is it to fix up and stuff like that, and you may have to raise your house. And so anyway, like I said, I might be piggybacking on what she said, but I do think that a drainage study, I don't know if it was done or not, but I know mine was in 2010, she mentioned 2014, now we're in 2018. And seriously, I went and got new carpet the other day, and Derailed was kidding with me and said, Molly, did you guys get rain again? Because that other rain came half of up our driveway.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets to the point where she's not kidding. It's not a matter of even sleeping, it's just a matter of, and at what point is our insurance just gonna keep rising? Because we have to carry it. If you have a mortgage, you gotta carry flood insurance, so, anyway.
Well, with the work that the railroad's doing and what Mike and his crew is doing, it should improve. I don't know how much, and that's going to be important for you to give us feedback on what you're seeing happening. I don't know if there's any prediction. I wouldn't say it's going to solve the problem.
Sure.
But for what was shown in the photographs, there were some major issues of blockage that really has caused a problem. And getting those cleared up, it should help. But I'm not going to say that's going to eliminate. But we want to find out what it's going to take to move forward and as best as we can addressing the issue. And
because I'll be honest, when I bought my house in 2015, I got a loan for it, and so I know what it was appraised for then. And so Don Cushing came by when we were all going through our issues, and he had another appraisal for me that was not even close to what I bought my house for in 2015. And so he was saying that if my structural damage was half of what was going to cost to fix my house up, that FEMA was going to make me raise my house. I just don't know that I think I can speak for everybody on my street. I don't think none of us have the money for that.
No.
That's pretty scary stuff to think that you may have to put $30,000 to raise your house for a house now that I still owe. Obviously, the appraisal's lower than what it says. So, I mean, there's a lot to it. But anyway, so
Yeah.
I have pictures too. Mine's just from my garage. It's nasty, but
we can't change the floodplain, but I think we can do some things to affect the height of the water.
sure.
And what's started should improve
Okay.
that somewhat. And, we feel for you that it'll be hard to have it rain and wonder, do I need to move my car?
I mean, 'cause you're talking 10, 14, 18, and now it's,
Yeah.
so it's pretty bad when it affects you,
And it's something that we can do to lessen the effects of all this water, whatever we can do, not only at this time now, but to continue to go back and revisit these places to make sure that they're still open, that we don't have blockages. This is not just a one-time deal that we open up and we forget about. We need to go back and make sure that we're vigilant and that they remain open, and that if there's another restricted, something comes up that we either didn't identify or didn't recognize, that we address it. But it all goes hand in hand, but we need to do our due diligence and do everything we can to mitigate flooding that area. Will it solve everything? it should help, but
Sure.
it would be a big step in the right direction, and then we need to go forward with how we're going to address it long-term.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Don?
Just the valuation, she's great. It can be a little scary and daunting. The valuations for the fair market value of the home are based upon the county appraisals. So that's talking with the state. When we do the assessments of whether there's substantial damage or not substantial damage, you have to get a base that's fair for everybody, that's common, so that you start with the county appraisals. But there is a process. If you disagree with the appraisal value of the home, there is a process that you can appeal that. Private appraisals, recent home sales comps, different things that can be used to help determine if that's an accurate appraisal or not.
Yeah, because the county appraiser system's a little different than the market appraisal. You want the county to appraise your property low, but for selling, you want them to appraise your value high. So there is, I can see Molly's concern when she looks at those valuations of.
It's my concern too, because I think it gets to the 50% very fast on some of the appraisals, and I don't know that the appraisals are a true in some cases are not a true or an accurate guide to the true value of the home. So
Well, and what affects the depth of the water is restrictions in the channel, and it's obvious if you have an open channel with no crossings and no restrictions, your flow and the height of the water at flood will be less than every time you put a bridge or a crossing or put it in a pipe. You increase the restrictions, so your water keeps getting higher. So the main thing, you got to get the water out of there you got to create the openings as close to unobstructed drainage as possible.
I would
So,
agree with that.
Thank you for explaining that,
No
Don.
problem.
Appreciate it. Thank you for the report, and if we could have an update then on that at the,
October meeting?
yeah.
First meeting?
Yep.
Yeah, maybe during reports as we progress, it might not have to be every monthly meeting, but keep it on enough of a schedule that when we do get information, we could have it reported on, and then the residents will keep track too. So maybe we can create a contact person, maybe with the residents, if they have a question, who they could call to get information at City Hall, and then they could report back to the neighbors. So,
I would encourage the residents, FEMA will change the floodplain next year, right, Matt? Don? Just stay in contact with Don. There'll be stuff in the paper, but that will happen.
So FEMA will at some point announce some map changes in 2019, changes to the floodplain map. So they'll give out a notice approximately 6 months before they do that, and the city's not required to notify everybody, but we are going to make an effort to identify whatever changes are on the map and make people aware that those properties would be affected. So, but these are FEMA maps,
Right.
controlled by FEMA, decided by FEMA, not by the city or
Yeah.
by the state. This is decided by FEMA.
okay.
And Don, all these restrictions these are all from FEMA. I mean, this is not,
No, these.
It's not
these
local
are- but
government
we-
determining-
But to be part of the National Flood Insurance Program, we are required to make sure that we have ordinances in place that address the floodplain, so that we can be part of the program.
Right.
And that, now I say this as a qualifying statement because my house wasn't flooded, but I was an insurance adjuster for 20 years. Anytime you have a loss, it does not matter the dollar size, it is a big loss for you. As far as FEMA is concerned, this was not a major event, but we are keeping track of the damages, so forth, so that if anybody were to ever ask if we were to do that, we can show that we're trying to do our due diligence of keep track of the losses and keep track of the activity in the floodplain.
Right.
So,
Thank you.
Mayor Kaplish, I had asked to speak later. Can I use my 3 minutes now to say something about this topic? If I withdraw my other request, I really would like to say something about it.
And ignore this request?
Yes.
Okay.
My name's Debbie Miller, and years ago, my husband and I lived in another community, and we bought our dream home until we had a real heavy rain. And before I knew it, I was at a nice house by myself, but my basement was filling up with water like crazy. The former owner hadn't told us that the basement would flood. From that point forward, when you have an experience like that, you can't imagine how your life changes. Every time it starts to rain, you live in huge, tremendous fear it's going to flood. You turn on the Weather Channel and you see the radar coming your way, and you just pray to God that it will miss you. And then the whole night long you worry. And then things get messy. You have to clean it up. It just emotionally and psychologically drains you, in addition to all the financial cost. And instead of enjoying hearing the rain pattering on your roof, it just scares the heck out of you. And so I think we have a lot of people involved here, and I would hope or ask you to set a deadline by the next meeting to have gone over all those Corps of Engineer drawings or whatever you have, and then maybe after the meeting after that, actually get the Corps in here. This is one time we really need to move this along in a real step-by-step, keep going forward basis, because we have a lot of people involved here, and their lives are just horrible living like this.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks
I
for
think-
letting me change.
I think the most immediate thing we can do is, what we're doing is clear the obstructions, get information on what's been done, and then find the problems, and it's obvious. First is restrictions. We need to identify that and then keep working for solutions. So, thank the residents for coming and sharing your concern. We're concerned too. We'll see what we can do and work towards a solution. So thank you. Next item on the agenda is the audit update. Which way's the rock rolling?
I don't know.
Well,
You'll have to ask Greg. It's his problem.
well, I'm hoping it's,
So according to the audit report, the auditors have already started working on the 2017 audit?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Have they given you a tentative date?
No, not at this time. I think we reported back in July, tentative date that they were going to start. Then they came back and firmed it up, and it was the end of September, and they showed up a month early. So we are working. We got them most of the information on short notice. They gave us a list to follow up and get them some additional information.
Okay. They have all their information.
Not all of it, but most of it.
Okay. When will you have all your information to them?
We're working on it right now. David's working on a piece, and I'm working on some other pieces. We should have it to him shortly.
I met with Neil before he left after they'd been here for 3 days and talked about the list, and the things they're waiting for is not materials, not slowing them down. They're moving right ahead, and we'll have it in a timely manner.
Okay. So you've been in contact with Coffeyville with their use of Encode?
We have attempted to get something set up, and we haven't gotten anything firmed up yet. In visiting with Neil when he was on site, of course, we've been trying to get something set up, but budget came, and I think both cities were pretty occupied with that. He had an opportunity that Encode is in a lot of communities in southeast Kansas, and of course, his firm handles a lot of those. He's had extensive experience and exposure with it, and when he was able to see how we were utilizing the system, he let us know pretty quickly that we need to get with someone because there's better things we could be doing with it.
Have you checked with the Director of Finance in Manhattan to see what they use?
I have not.
He's given some round table discussions or concurrent seminars at the league conferences. He's had a lot of people go to him with questions about municipal finance, and I think Caney, I heard, was using Encode also.
Caney does use Encode, yes.
Okay.
Katy, Coffeyville, Montgomery County, Cherryville,
Parsons use it, Arc City,
Arc City does.
Winfield,
No,
Chanute.
So it's widely used software. Speaking of Manhattan, I've been looking around budget. I do it all the time, and I've looked at Manhattan's budget.
Mhm.
Very nice budget, nice sized community, and I've looked at I've got some of their financial policies as examples as we're trying to develop ours. So, yeah, it's a good example.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah, a lot of them at conference staff have referenced him and how he's helped them, and he's always been open to, hey, if you got any questions, come in, do whatever you can.
Yeah, Mike and I are going to take him out to dinner next week. See where we can go.
Do you have any questions on the report?
Joe.
No.
Okay. City board minutes, any questions on the minutes?
No, I have not on the 7th or the 15th.
Okay. City manager's comments?
I have a couple of comments. I don't know if you were going to comment on the shelter house since you're going to be introduction, but I would just like to mention
Yeah.
that if you haven't heard, of course, that the shelter house turns 100 and we're having a celebration tomorrow, 6 o'clock, and I'm looking forward to the free train rides and free ice cream, so you can't beat that. So it sounds good. The second thing I'd like to touch on, and probably a lot of people don't know this yet, because I haven't seen it in the paper yet. We did issue a media release on it, but we did have a computer event the other day, and it was a case of ransomware. And I don't want to go into the details. I can't go into too much details, but I would just like to say thanks to the stellar team between our staff and our IT consultant, not only in handling the situation the way we did, they were well prepared, but in the preparation to handle such an event. Working with Galaxy, our IT consultant, over the last while, we've put in place some things, of course, backing up in the cloud, making sure we're safe there, not to mention firewalls, the usual things that we have. They just have done an outstanding job, and I know this in that after going through the event and our response and what our consultant did and everything came to play when we are hiring a forensic cyber computer team firm to do the investigation to really see how the ransomware got in and exactly where it went. I mean, we have an idea. It affected most of the computers in City Hall, which, by the way, again, the response was we were back up and running in 36 hours. For a time there, of course, we couldn't take payments down at the front office. We had to do it manually, but we had the system up and running in 36 hours, and that was just outstanding. And I say outstanding in how we responded. When we met with by phone these forensic cyber computer people, they'd go down and say, "Did you do this, and yeah, we did that." There was excellent, great. and they do this all the time, and that's their job, is to really, because they have the expertise to really go in and dig and find things. So I was very pleased to hear that from Dave Cowan and all our department directors, and then working with Galaxy. So that was just a good, I mean, you don't like to see that, but fortunately we had prepared. We renewed our insurance this last June. We added cybersecurity insurance, so that was good. So the forensic investigation will take between 7 to 10 days, and we'll be working with them, and that's all done remotely. So we easily survived a ransomware attack, and say it's never, we still don't know exactly all the impacts, but we didn't pay any ransom or anything like that. So we are good to go. We're back up and running. So thanks, you guys.
Okay.
Anything else? That's all.
Okay. Next item is commissioners' comments. Louis?
No, I think Craig touched on the ransomware issue, and I know we had dedicated $70,000 toward, I think that was toward improvements in the encode system and upgrading that, and a lot of that was for the cyber security. Is that
Exactly.
correct?
That would have helped. We're not sure how much, but one of the main reasons was, as we talked during budget, if you recall, to spend that money to go up a couple of iterations that we're behind, was mainly for the cybersecurity, which we need. So that would have helped, I think, maybe slow it down from getting into other machines, but it'll definitely help. It'll add another layer of security for us.
So we didn't actually have that installed into the system.
Right.
Okay, but this gives us some added protection going forward.
Yeah, we budgeted some money this year, and then we got a few months into the year and looked at it and realized we didn't have near enough to do it. So that's why we had to wait to budget more. We added on to it for 2019. So.
Okay. I guess this is becoming a pretty common occurrence.
Yeah, I mean, even just the last few months, Dave and we've heard of other cities in Kansas that have been hit. And then there's of course, some big cities that have been hit. Famous one, Atlanta got hit, and they were down for a long time, over a month, millions of dollars to recover. I'm not sure if they had insurance or not at the time. I read an article just the other day where these larger cities especially are finally getting the cyberware insurance. It's because the people, like I said, this was ransomware, we're pretty sure, and all they wanted was money. They weren't really looking for data, they were looking for money. So.
Money's good.
Okay. No, other than that, they're all gone, but I think for the big turnout of people that came forward and wanted to address flooding issues, and we're going to work together. We're going to figure out how we're going to proceed on this and start making improvements, and at least work toward lessening the effect of when we get heavy rainfall like that, and then see what the long-term process looks like, what we need to do. So, thank you, people.
One thing, as we look at the next round of 88 projects, the ballparks, we have needs there. No complaints been filed, but we have needs with accessibility to some ball fields.
I was going to do it in the Craig's AR, but we did get a DOJ complaint, and I'll give you further in the AR. So
Okay.
we are addressing it. It was at the dog park, and they were DOJ gave it to the Department of Interior, I guess because it's a park, and that's who contacted. Actually, called Barb, and she
Oh,
sent
it
it to
wasn't
me.
a complaint here. They actually filed it.
They actually filed with the DOJ, and it was over accessibility into the dog park and ADA parking. And he was
At
very
the dog park? Or
at the dog park.
the baseball field.
Yeah, and I agree. Yeah, we have issues there too.
Yeah, we
And
have a coach that needs access.
Oh, yeah, that's big.
Yeah,
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one.
yeah. Need to get with rec Independence City Rec.
Okay.
And
He did call me the other day, but he didn't mention that, and he wanted to know what we were doing, and I kind of showed him we were putting it on the transition, and I told him, Leonard, that you'd kind of talked about it
Yeah.
and how big a cost that was, and if we wanted to stay there, or we'd have to look at all our options.
yeah, I think there's some ways to do it to comply without spending a lot of money, but I think that's something with City Rec using our facility, I'd like to see the director and maybe a representative of the board come to a commission meeting that we could sit down and talk pool, long-term ball fields, because there's some problems with that, the location of the field with traffic, safety of the children, crossing the street, and it's just see what long-term we could do on relocating, to,
Yep.
because as a cost, we go into bathrooms, concession stand, bleachers to put them in a field we've already got problems with.
Right.
And, then some of the long-term maintenance we're gonna face at the pool, get some direction there too. But, yeah, there's some ways I think we can comply inexpensively at the fields.
Okay.
But,
I'll get with him, get what the
Yeah.
issues are, and we'll get
Yeah.
working on it, get something back.
and the parking at the basketball courts, there hasn't been any excavation for access to that parking area.
Right, we left that there. I think the plan was get the asphalt down, and then we were gonna concrete in that, do the sidewalk in the drive. Is that what you're talking about?
From the street
Yes.
to the
Yeah, to
drive,
the-
it wasn't excavated.
Yeah,
So I didn't know if they were gonna lay asphalt up to it or just what
They were
the
gonna.
schedule. I
think
see the equipment
The
there.
plan is to asphalt the pad, and then they're gonna do the basketball courts. Then we're gonna take the sidewalk out and put the drive and the new sidewalk across there to the asphalt.
With asphalt or concrete?
With concrete, I'm
From the
sorry,
street to the
to the
asphalt.
asphalt, yes.
Okay.
So rain is just delaying everything, and we're
Yeah.
running out of time, so I hope we get it done.
Now, what group was going to work on the basketball courts? Was that our turn
That's
or was that
Young
YPI?
professional-
YPI,
Professionals.
and that is Dr. Kelly.
Okay, because weren't they gonna have to take down some fence and some
Yeah,
poles?
we worked with Heckert, and he thinks he has enough room to get in there and do what he needs to do with what we've got
Oh,
down.
good, okay. I see his equipment there.
Yeah,
Way over in Pittsburgh trying to finish up on an intersection, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah,
so as soon as he can get back over here, everybody's ready, and I think
Yeah.
they're working at the dog park this weekend on some of their paths. So
okay,
I told the department chair we tried to have that
Yeah.
accomplished in about 30 days.
okay. Okay, well, thank you. Those were the only two things that I had. So if there's no other commissioner comments, public concern has been withdrawn. Next item is adjournment. I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion that we adjourn.
I'll second the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried.